Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to Let's Talk Oculus 205, and this very special episode where we're going to talk about 5 years of Walkabout, and we have the creator on the show, Lucas Martell, who will be on part 2 as well. But for now, instead of Lucas, we have Samson, as always. Hey. Wearing all of his Walkabout gear, the snowman, the Raptors cliff hat, and he also has a few of the 3D printed the elements, shall we say, around as well. How you doing, Samson?
I am doing well. What a fabulous interview and we have for the listeners. And just been living it up, Dan. I got my office is sort of coming together. I still have this elliptical behind me, but you know we're getting there, Dan. We're getting there. How you been?
I'm doing well. I'm really doing well. We only just, for clarity's sake, just wrapped up the Lucas interview, so we're fresh off just talking to him, and it was a really, really good chat. It was really great to hear from the creator of Walkabout. It was a bit surreal in a way because we've been talking about this game for so long. We've had a few of the other coconuts on the show, and now we finally have the creator on the show, and it was great. He was such a lovely guy, and even though he had time constraints, we managed to get through every questions, your comments, the everyone who kind of sent a comment in as well. We managed to read them out and get your questions answered. So definitely stick around for part 2 so you can listen to that. But Samson, for part 1, oh, sorry, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say I only gushed a little bit, you know.
Yeah, exactly. For this part, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through our own memories, and we've kind of written down a bunch of questions for us to discuss and to go through, celebrating obviously 5 years of Walkabout. We do have a few listener comments that we do want to mention though, and I want to start off with D-Max, who threw this in the Discord. He says, my Walkabout story. Early days, not long after Walkabout launch, had joined the Walkabout Mini Golf Discord channel and was itching to try multiplayer. Joined a random room someone posted in a Find a Game channel. Luckily stumbled onto 3 people who were all fun, funny, and welcoming. Great first intro into the social element of Walkabout Mini Golf. Probably the most fun first multiplayer experience for a game. Thanks so much, D-Max, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show and the interview. And also, D-Max, we've got to see you on the Thursday walkabouts.
I think he's got like life things on that.
That's fair
block
enough.
Of time. Yeah,
that's fair enough. But you know, we've got to play some. I don't think I've played with D-Max for a long time. If I've played with him before, I don't know. I'm not too sure. We played with a lot of people. But yeah, thanks so much, D-Max. So much, D-Max. But yeah, we have a lot more comments to go through, so let's get through them.
Matt Mosher on LTO 200. Congratulations on 200 episodes. This is my number 1 podcast, my go-to for all things Quest and VR. This podcast keeps me company during my commutes to gigs. Thanks again for all your work with the podcast and the Discord community. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. It's still amazing. I heard that comment. I saw it just pop up on my smartwatch yesterday, and I was like, "That's so nice," you know.
Yeah. Dan, now we can get T-shirts that say number 1. Number 1 for Matt. We're number 1.
We're number 1. Yeah,
and then we'll put tiny from Matt.
Yeah, just underneath. Matt did have another comment on LTO 203, which is our last episode. He says, hey guys, some of my favorite memories of Walkabout are playing during the pandemic, the LTO Thursdays and tournament, and also a weekly 5-player game with friends. Happy 5th anniversary, Walkabout. Very, very fitting. Wow. I think a lot of people have similar memories for that too. Weekly
5-player game with friends. I'm not going to lie.
We technically do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do it with our community. It's I love the community, but they're not my childhood friends.
Yeah, that's
it's a little different.
I would like them to be.
I had that going during pandemic, and I just since everything's opened up, people, my friends have not wanted to
busy.
Put that thing back on.
You've made some new friends. You've made some new friends through the podcast.
Oh yeah.
So,
And
but yeah,
even
right.
my Golf Plus games have died down. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
moving right along.
we will have some more memories in part two that we'll share with Lucas, and there are like in terms of keeping. He thought a weekly 5-player game was like a big feat. Like I've seen some comments already, which we'll read out in part two, that people take this seriously and passionate about it, which is amazing. Okay, Samson, you want to read the next comment out?
I'd love to, from Dave on LTO 203. New mechanic, it says, and shows a pic of the drink me bottle. We're going to flip between giant and mini mode at some point, right? So
That's in
I think
relations to the Alice in Wonderland course, just FYI.
Indeed. So I think we're getting 2 courses in December. Tokyo is 35, Alice is 37 in December. But the roadmap says 3 courses this year. And they confirmed on Reddit that there will be 1 course before Alice. So, unless the roadmap is wrong, there will be one after Alice, but still this year. Also, I think the ball with the swoosh behind it from the roadmap picture
roadmap, yeah,
is customizable ball trails. They already change color in Upside Down depending on the gravity. It wouldn't be too much trouble to let us choose the trail, and maybe other effects like Stinky Ball in Labyrinth. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually don't think he's far from it, or maybe he's spot on altogether, because even in Meow Wolf, they have, how the ball just, like, there's when you
The
get
rainbow.
into a little pop. Yeah, and there's so many little trails. So, like, they have that kind of effect already, which is what he said. So, yeah, that'll be a cool. And then in terms of the courses, you're right, because Tokyo was 35. They said that Alice in Wonderland will be their 37th course. So obviously there's one before that in simple math. But like Dave said, there's 3 on the actual roadmap up until 2026. So yeah, there must be, maybe Alice in Wonderland will be literally the first week of December, and then there'll be another one for after the holidays potentially, or it could be just wrong.
What I think is we'll get a lighting update for like one of the OG courses, and so it's like represented on the roadmap as one of those courses, but it doesn't count as like a new course number.
We're getting a remaster for Seagull Stacks is what you're saying.
I'm not saying that.
I think you're right. I think that's it. I think it's right. I think you've spot on. I think there will be the 3 courses. Alice will be the 3rd one, but then there will be one new course, and then there will be the remaster of Seagull Stacks, which is the next one on the list, right? We've not.
I mean, we don't know that, but that's what.
But we've not done Seagull Stacks, right?
That's what we hope.
But that's right. There's no.
Yeah, Seagull Stacks has
Stacks.
not been updated yet. No.
Is Seagull Stacks?
But neither have
Arizona
a lot of the like original Gothic could probably get one too. Eventually.
Yeah, but I think they'll do it in order. They've done Tourist Trap, they've done Cherry Blossom. I can see them doing Seagull Stacks next, and then Arizona, and then original Gothic. Like I can see them just doing in order. Did they do Arizona?
Yeah.
Like a full remaster? They just did a bit of a lighting update, but they didn't do like a remaster.
Well, yeah, but they updated it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that they're showing that there will be like 3 courses out, I think that's warranted as a remaster rather than just a lighting update. So Seagull Stacks remaster would be great. And also, Samson, as we saw just before we started the show, we went on Walkabout's merch store. There's no Seagull Stacks poster. There's only one poster that says Walkabout, which has the Seagull Stacks part. Yep. There's no actual Seagull Stacks poster, so maybe they're saving the Seagull Stacks poster until they remaster it and then come out with a nice little new Seagull Stacks poster.
Yeah, that was my original thought until I noticed that the quote Walkabout Mini Golf poster is Seagull Stacks, and I think that's just what they use for it.
Interesting. But thanks for those comments, Dave. Dave's got another comment and a Walkabout memory that we'll talk about in part 2. And final comment from Bovidius on the Discord. He said way back you guys had a question for us all about what properties would like to see made into Walkabout course. One of my submissions was Alice in Wonderland, and I said they better make the putter a flamingo. I'm so excited they're doing the course now. I'm be curious to see whether they actually do the flamingo thing, though, since it could get some animal rights pushback. Animal rights pushback with the putter.
That'd be something. I now really hope that it's a flamingo, though.
It definitely could be flamingo shaped for sure. At least a flamingo head.
It, yeah.
Or like a flamingo. Yeah, exactly. That definitely happen. I need to watch Alice in Wonderland because I've never seen it, and I think I need to watch it before this because otherwise I have no idea what's going on. I've said this on the channel before. I was like, I've never watched it or read the book, so I have no idea what's going on. I know there's a rabbit. And there's a hole.
All right, Dan. All right, we'll get a big screen night then.
We'll get a big screen night out. We'll do one in like November, just before the course starts, and we can all watch it together.
Yeah. It could be a good early October. You could kind of get it's kind of. It always scared me as a kid, but it's not a scary movie. But it's it gets you there.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so they're the community comments, at least for now, for part one. Let's get into the Walkabout segment. So we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of Walkabout Mini Golf. Few announcements that Mighty Coconut have put out. Closest to putt mode has been added. We talked about that last week. Alice in Wonderland is the newest IP course, which will be out in December. And there's a small little trailer, which includes a bottle.
Dan, Giant and Mini. I just want to know. It's technically public domain.
Alice in Wonderland? Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Giant and Mini mode in Laser Lair, Atlantis, and Tourist Trap. And also, this orchestra, Density 512, performed Seagull Stacks live, which is really cool.
Crazy.
You could go watch it. It's on YouTube, but if you just go on to Mighty Coconut or Walkabout's Twitter page, or X page rather, they just posted it a few days ago, and it's really cool. Like, it's crazy, but it's really cool. A whole orchestra performing a song
live. Yeah.
And Samson, that's a hint that Seagull Stacks is the next course.
I like it.
I like it too. All right, so they're the new stuff that they've announced, at least for now. I'm not sure if they're planning to announce more things, but as of recording, that's all they've announced for now. So let's go into a few questions which kind of prompt some memories of Walkabout, Samson. Let's start off with, what does Walkabout Mini Golf mean to us today? Like, what does it mean to you as of 2025? Start off with you.
Well, today, Walkabout means I get to step inside a magical world to explore, play, and make my own fun. Do it alone, do it with the people that I love, or, Dan, complete strangers, though I rarely make that choice.
Yeah.
I don't often, if ever, leave the worlds of Walkabout and feel worse.
Apart from in El Dorado when it's raining and you start to feel cold.
No, I love playing it. I love playing those ones like outside when you get a little breeze.
Yeah, I love it too. It's the rain in El Dorado is so well done, and because there's a storm and all that stuff, it's really, really excellent. And that I love that course. It's so cool compared to a lot of their courses. Like, there's so much going on, there's so much depth. It's dark, and they don't really have too many dark courses like that.
True.
Very, very cool. But
and the flares are really nicely lit.
Yeah, it feels like an explorer.
What does Walkabout Mini Golf mean to you today?
Well, it's a core part of the show, Samson. Like, we mention it almost every week. In fact, probably every week. I think we started off this podcast. You talked about synth riders every week for a while, but Walkabout is consistently what we're talking about. Our listeners love the game. We have the Walkabout Thursdays going on. We have the Walkabout tournament that Healing Entree has been continuing and doing a great job at as well. So there's like super passionate people that obviously listen to the show who love it, and it's a great place to hang out. Like, just what we're doing right now on Thursdays, but even in the past, like when we didn't do Walkabout Thursdays, we used to play often. I think on a Wednesday or on a Tuesday. We'd play like a variety
We'd
of
split
games,
it in.
but
Yeah.
Walkabout used to be one of the most common ones. And, that's where I spent a lot of time with Dave, a lot of time with Kimberly, a lot of time with Jenna back in the day and such, a lot of time with Doc, like a lot of time with certain people who would come all the time. So it always felt like I kind of knew them in a way, being in VR and hanging out with them. So that was really cool. And yeah, just kind of like what you said in terms of not leaving feeling worse. Like I feel like I always let go of some real world stress when I go into
100%.
a walkabout game and just have a good time. Like I just forget about anything for the next hour, play a couple of rounds of walkabout, have a good time. And you don't never take it too seriously, right? Like this, and then it's always a great time. So yeah, Walkabout is like a core part of the show, and it's pretty special. But yeah, so Samson, we've reviewed, ranked, and bracketed the courses. We've gone through putters, we've gone through balls, but let's talk about more about like the impact it's had on us. So what is like, do you have like a special core memory that you have with Walkabout? Like you could say one or multiple, but is there anything that sticks out?
I'm glad you gave me that one. Speaking of, though, we do need to do another ranking or some sort of Walkabout episode before end of year.
Well, I guess we'll do the like we did last Christmas. We did the 2024 courses ranked. We'll probably do the 2025 courses ranked, and maybe on episode 300 of LTO we can do a whole.
Dan,
that'll be like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah. I missed a really long one, Dan. I'm not gonna lie. I do. I want to do them all. But maybe I could.
You know how much research that's going to take. We know how much research that's going to take, but no, we will do it again. We will do it again at some point.
Anyway, yes, Walkabout has been around so long that it's actually just become a part of me. I am now part Walkabout. I'm not sure what part of me, but it's probably on the inside. So remembering specific memories kind of feels like trying to remember what I ate for lunch 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That said, it really has just been a way to connect me with people. I remember Walkabout helping me socialize with my childhood friends from afar in 2021. I remember going on a first date with someone in Tourist Trap, and like it was her first time playing. So when she joined the room, she had the the stock avatar, and so I showed her how to make herself, look how she wanted to look and not a gray person.
I need a bit more context for this before you continue. Was she at your house, or was she? No. Was this first date? Was this just online through Walkabout? Yeah. But you did you know what she looked like, or was it just?
On a dating app, I knew I'd seen pictures.
That's fair. That's cool. I've never heard of that. I don't know if you told. Maybe you did. I can't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but
I could tell how tall she was.
Yeah, I guess so. You're like, oh no, she's too tall.
Unless she was seated, I don't know. Tricky.
I love that. A first date in Tourist Trap, not second, not third, not fourth.
Well, Dan, let me go on, because I also remember playing on my second date at the Bubbler VR with my current girlfriend, and that was on the Valve Indexes. And cool. I played with my college kid's roommate, my college roommate's kid. Oof.
Yeah.
And I play with my girlfriend's daughter. So it's just connected me to so many special, important people in my life. And I guess that random first date, not important people. But
you never know. It could have been. You never know.
You know what? Yeah.
What was wrong? Was it her putting game? Was she missing too many putts?
Yeah.
Was she too many trick shots?
But dare I say, it's become an integral part of my weeks and my life, pretty much like eating and sleeping.
Eat, sleep, Walkabout.
Yes, I need that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, we can make that t-shirt. We can make this shit.
Eat, sleep, go on a Walkabout.
I resonate with you. I haven't had a date in Walkabout, I won't lie to you, but I've the connection with people for sure. I'll say what my one core memory is in a second, but in terms of just connection, a lot of our like community members for sure. As I mentioned in the first question, like it feels like I know them in a way because we spent so much time in Walkabout, which has been amazing. I really look forward to it every time. Like I haven't been in many Thursdays for the past month or so, but
it's always a great surprise when your name pops in.
I was consistent, and then I started going to the CrossFit gym on Thursdays, and then that's blown it up. But no, I always look forward to when I do jump in and see familiar faces in there, and it's a great time. Yeah, it's like hanging out with friends, to be honest with you. But if I had to pick just one memory,
we should all change avatars and, so to say, change faces for next time.
I never change. I always keep the one that I like, and every time I see you, you're like a different person each time. And I always forget which one you are. One core memory I do want to say, I've said this on the show before, but I was playing Seagull Stacks with my uncle, who I don't really talk to outside of playing just Walkabout, to be honest with you. Obviously when gonna go home to the UK, but like when I'm not at UK, we don't really converse too much unless it's like, let's just jump into Walkabout, and then we get talking in there. But the one time we played Seagull Stacks, and we both had the putter that you really like, Samson, the like broom putter. And afterwards, for some reason, what would you call it? A broom?
It feels derogatory towards that putter. I'm not gonna lie.
What would you call it? What kind of putter?
I'd call it chiseled piece of wood.
Okay, broom putter. We both kind of put the putter between our legs and just threw around like we're on like magic broomsticks. And Seagull Stacks was really fun because you're on the mountain, you go through the like bridge underneath the bridge and all that stuff, and it was so stupid. But it was just hilarious. It was just some silly time
for another, yourself,
because we were still talking after we finished the round, so we just continued just flying around, and it was so stupid for like 10 minutes of just flying around talking and such. It was hilarious. So that was one core memory I would say that sticks out to me. But I have so many memories with this game. It's been amazing. This might be a interesting one, Samson. How has your play style changed after 5 years? Like, has it changed at all?
Great question, Dan. My play style, it changes more like with who I'm playing than over time, I'd say. So like with everybody on Thursdays, it's a bit of a lighthearted competitiveness, if we're doing race mode and me and Baru Monkey are there tight at the end, it's a fun competitiveness, if you will. But like when I'm playing with my girlfriend's daughter or something like that, it's more like focused on her trying to have fun than like me and my score. Then there's like so many ways to approach holes now, where it's speed runs, closest putts. They just like always push you to play the same holes in new different ways. So my play style just changes based on like what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right though. Like and it also depends on if I'm just playing with just like you, for example, just like one other person, I might go for crazy trick shots. But if we're playing as a big group of 7 or 6, I might actually try and go for it and try and do well. Like it just depends on.
It's funny. I feel like I'm the inverse in that scenario.
You're the inverse of that.
But usually I'm just like, I'm not trying to. It just takes a lot of time. I feel like if you really just mess around.
Yeah, it does. I don't think I've changed my playstyle at all. I think I've always not been the one to do trick shots. I'd be more playing like real golf all the time. And I still kind of play like that most of the time, to be honest. I see other people do trick shots. I see Dave doing trick shot now and again. I see Brew Monkey obviously always pulling out the trick shots and such. But I've always been trying to just play like normal golf and just try and hit good shots, basically.
That shot Brew Monkey did on the hard mode of Babylon, where it's near the end. I think it's like a par 4 or par 5, and he hit it up the ramp off the wall, and then it made one more bounce and then bounce right near the hole.
That was
sometimes he'll just do a shot and your draw just drops, and it's not shown in VR yet, but one day he'll see everybody's jaws dropping.
Quest 4, we'll see the mouse. Yeah, we'll see the mouse. A couple more questions before we round off this part. Community memories. We've talked about memories, obviously, with the community and such, but any specific memories that you want to share when playing with the community? Maybe I'll start first on this one, because I think I've kind of said most of this stuff already. But
I was going to say earlier, like, Dan, you put a section for community memories, but...
like, we've met a lot of listeners for the first time in Walkabout. That's been really cool just to hang out. We've talked about that. But particularly, I remember the first time meeting Dave in Walkabout. And
I'm so glad you did that. Because I don't remember it at all.
I remember it. I remember the course we were playing. I don't remember what the course is, but if I describe it... if I describe it, you might remember what it is. There's a hole in it where there's a teacup, and you hit it up to the top of the teacup, and then it drops down. Is Sweetopia?
Yeah.
With a teacup? Yeah. So that's all. I can't remember which that one was for the teacup. Yeah, I remember Dave being in there, and I think we were playing he was trick shot heavy. And that was the first time I think I played with someone who was trick shot heavy. I remember the teacup one because we were all going, I think it was just me,
because
you and Dave.
He goes to the right instead of up the teacup. Yeah.
I think it was me, you, and Dave, but I think Kimberly could have been there at the time. I don't remember that, to be honest with you. But anyway, I just remember him turning around and trying to hit a random rock on the right side. And I think he didn't do it straight away, but he ended up doing it eventually. And it was like, whoa, what on earth? I'd never seen anyone go off course before and do trick shots until I met Dave. And that's why I remember that interaction so much. Because that was the first time I played with him, the first time we spoke to him properly, obviously outside of just him messaging in Discord or such, and that was really cool. So that's my key core memory from the community.
That's awesome, because I feel like I've been playing Walkabout with Dave since the beginning of time, and I legitimately wrote down here, I can't remember our first game. It just feels like we've always had Walkabout.
With Dave.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We've always had Walkabout. It's just been so long. I've played with his girlfriend, his fiance, and his wife, and they're all the same person.
Yeah,
shout out Dimples.
That's so true. That's so true.
All that is to say, it's not one memory that really stands out when it comes to Walkabout, but a lifetime of memories, sort of all blurred together, congealing into a memory filled with laughter, love. Nice shot. And no.
Yeah, that's very true. You remember Ramp Rock?
Yeah, well? I do remember Ramp Rock.
Ramp Rock, for those who have no idea, it was just an inside joke, but it was me, Samson, Dave must have been there too. Kimberly was definitely there, and PJ from the VR Verdict podcast.
And I think...
And Gina.
Yeah.
Gina as well. And yeah, we were playing Gardens of Babylon, and one of the holes, there's a little... You can go over the bridge, but there's a little rock as well that you can kind of bounce up on.
Ramp Rock.
And we just called it Ramp Rock, and because we kept hitting on it and such, and it was doing great shots when we hit the ramp. And I remember VR Verdict having their VR show, because they used to film it within VR, and having a picture of Ramp Rock behind them as well. Good times. Little memories like that. But anyway, that's more of an inside thing between a few people.
That's what I need a poster of behind me, Ramp Rock.
Yeah, we have the picture. Final question, Samson, then we'll wrap this up and we'll get straight to Lucas Martell. What is your realistic dream course or dream course feature?
Yes. Well, Dan, I've been playing a lot of Everybody's Golf, and I just want more stats logged. I want to be able to go see more stats easily, and I'm a stats guy. But I get it. Not if it's not the driving force into the game or whatever.
I think it's coming. It's on the roadmap. The little stat board. I think it's coming.
I hope so. but I don't want to get my hopes up. And as far as Walkabout course ideas, these are kind of a funny animal to me because I feel like Mighty Coconut knows what I want before or better than I know what I want in this case. But I'd have to say 100 Acre Woods, or perhaps a course from like a VR game, like, a Moss, Max Mustard, Astrobot, something like that. But Dan, I do, in part 2, I kind of want, there's a few IPs coming to public domain in like 2027, which gives enough time to sort of build a course in theory for perhaps Frankenstein or Dracula.
Yeah, I can see that. There'll be a good another horror one that's not Widow's Walkabout that Dave can finally play because he for some reason can't deal with that course.
I get it.
It's funny you say 100 Acre Woods because I put down I'd love a course in the woods as well. I was also going to put stats, but I was like, that's coming because we can see the roadmap and I'm pretty sure it's coming. But I was thinking of Vancouver, to be honest, of the like trails in the woods that I used to do and I really loved. And I was like, maybe like with muddy trails, which slow your ball down, like Wallace and Gromit, and then make trails of mud when you come out of it. Maybe there's some puddles as well, like muddy puddles, like in Tokyo, for example. And then like there could be like bears or wolves as like characters that are in the woods or something like that. It could be a misty woods or it just could be like a really scenic woods. I don't know, but I just really love to kind of go through like tree. I know like we had the dinosaur one, Raptor Cliffs. That kind of was in the woods, to be honest with you. To be fair, like it was kind of a tree top, so we kind of had something like that already. But I was thinking less
Eldorado too.
Less tree top adventure, but more like proper like in the trees, in the woods, in the forest kind of thing. There might be a cave that you can go into or something like that. I don't know. That's what I would like. One with a lot of greenery.
Very good.
But Samson, that'll do for our part 1. There were our little memories. If any of those questions and you resonated with any of the listeners there, just feel free to let us know. Happy to read them out on the show or just post them in Discord. A lot of you have been posting memories in Discord. Some of you posted it to me on a DM, which I'll read out in part 2 as well.
Or if you're Dave and we misremembered anything, correct us.
Yeah, exactly. But I hope you enjoyed part 2 with Lucas Martell, the creator of Walkabout. Let us know any feedback of it as well. But we're so excited to talk to him. So without further ado, we'll see you in part 2.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
Welcome back to part 2 of LTO 205, where it's a very special episode where we're celebrating 5 years of Walkabout Mini Golf, and who better to celebrate with is Lucas Martell himself, the creator of the game. Welcome, Lucas. Happy 5 years to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you so much for all the videos you guys have been talking about the game for. When did you guys start playing, by the way?
2021 for 2021 for the podcast, but 2020 I would have started playing. How about you, Samson?
Yeah, I think I bought it about a month or so after release. I definitely, I definitely remember 4 courses.
Okay, yeah, if you remember that was pretty much the first month, because I think we added Original Gothic within I think the first one came out in October, so it was not too long after. Yeah.
I think that's around when I got it because I heard that was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Well, Walkabout is like, it's a game that means so much to like everybody, but especially like our community. It's really built on it. We talk about it almost every episode, to be honest with you. And we have like tournaments within our Discord and such. So I wanted to filter in a few comments from listeners because they have wrote to you, in particular Lucas. And I want to start off with Liam on Discord here. He puts, "Hello, Lucas. I want to share a bit about what Walkabout means to me. For a couple of years now, every Thursday, me, my father, and my grandfather, along with some other family members, have gathered to play Walkabout. These Thursday nights has made it possible to talk to, catch up with family members we otherwise wouldn't have really spoken to. So now instead of meeting maybe once or twice a year, we meet every single week. It's been something to really look forward to and lots of fun. We started tracking our positions to make our own kind of tournament, which adds competitiveness. The game means so much to me, and it's 100% the best VR game ever. So I want to thank you, Lucas, and the Walkabout team for making this a possibility, a fun tradition, and an opportunity we wouldn't have otherwise had."
That's awesome. I wish that we had a way to actually find out the number of people who, I mean, we could see when people are playing in multiplayer, which is a little over 50% of the sessions are multiplayer. But just anecdotally, the number of people playing with their dads that we have heard about seems to be like, there is a non-zero. I mean, I would bet that's probably even like a double digits sort of like just the people who are using it to keep in touch with, like specifically dads, a lot of people, friends, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. My parents, and specifically my dad, was actually, because we were in COVID lockdown, and I had a Quest 1 and had just gotten the Quest 2 at the time. And so like he became an early beta tester, just like hopped in and figured it out. And that was always my test of like, if he could pick it up and I don't have to explain anything to him, that's what we're aiming for. So maybe there's a reason that's kind of become a bit of a recurring theme for a lot of players.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's sort of why I bought it back then in October or whatever 2020 was. I got one for a couple of my childhood friends and my brother, and we played Walkabout. And unfortunately, now that things have sort of gone back to normal, I can't get them in the headset anymore.
There's some friction there, but also I've even I've given headsets to a couple of various friends of mine that I'd like to just keep in touch with. And the only thing that is a bit of a bummer is that it's hard for me to jump into Walkabout and not be working.
That's true.
I'm a little envious of the folks who can get in and they have that social connection, because whenever I get in, even if it is purely sort of like, I'm playing with a friend of mine who I haven't seen for a year or more, it always ends up being, I found a bug. I got to report this. Hold on a second. Let me actually, mark this down. Yeah. So
you need
there's always bug fixing if nothing else.
What's your go-to chill game then for like, for what the community uses Walkabout for? What game do you go to?
That is a good question. I've actually been making an effort to play some more stuff more recently. I will admit that I am actually pretty bad. I don't come from a traditional gaming background. And between the studio and I also have two pretty young kids. So my 11-year-old, she and I have she has just kind of started getting into some gaming stuff. And so I've started her more on the flat screen side of things. She will hop into VR every once in a while. But even I'll admit, I'm a little nervous about just sort of like developmental, like is VR really sort of like something that we should be putting on young children? I don't feel 100% confident on that for a long time. So we have started playing a decent bit of I've always been a fan of indie games. So we've been doing a lot of flat. Let's see, she was playing Far Lone Sails. We started playing Untitled Goose Game together.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I just got Donut County. She was playing Unravel. So a whole lot of those sort of kind of like indie single A. I don't know exactly what you would call them. That's always kind of been my
they're
go-to
good for relaxing and good for coziness as well. It Takes Two would be great as well to play the co-op, right? I'm not sure if
I haven't. I think someone mentioned that to me. I need to add that to my wish list, but I have. A couple people have mentioned that.
It's an amazing game for the holidays to play with a loved one. It's fantastic. So
I'm sorry, Dan, I derailed us though.
Oh, no worries. No. I mean, this is what this podcast is all about, Samson. Have you not been here before?
This gives me a chance to like adjust my chair. It's just like it looks so comfy, and it's the most awkward, uncomfortable. I picked a bad place to sit.
Lucas, obviously you've done plenty of interviews in the past, and you know, a lot of people can go out there and see, especially with the origin story of how Walkabout came to be. But what I wanted to talk about, you know, if we go back to September 2020, the release of Walkabout on Oculus Quest, there are some core concepts in the game that have been at its foundation from day one, which is still in there for today. Stuff like multiplayer game chat, hidden balls, the putting mechanic has always felt natural and very easy to pick up. So how important was it to get those like foundations right from day one?
I mean, yeah, I think that the big thing was the physics. And honestly, probably a lot of time was spent really dialing in the physics. And that is something that we are using. I mean, if you want me to go kind of geeky with it, we are using physics for our physics engine, but there's also a decent bit of stuff that we're adding in there in terms of how we're handling certain collisions and friction and different things that it's not represented to the degree that we need it to. So we are doing a bunch of extra things on top of the kind of out of the box physics stuff. I will say that that's also been a bit of a curse, because whenever we want to tweak things or make things more performant, we're pretty much stuck that it has to behave exactly like it did, because there's enough people, especially on our Discord, that have their shots dialed in, and they know that if the friction increases by like 2%, this one thing that always caused a hole in one no longer works, or if bounces ever change. Like there's some little things like that we're kind of like, those cannot ever change again. So I'm really glad that we did really sort of like dial that in sort of early on. I think there were maybe one or two fixes that were done, but it was actually like fixes.
Yeah.
And then, the Lost Balls was a great one of those things that was added kind of later in the game, but it just did seem, or in the development process, it wasn't there from the very, very beginning. But it just seemed like there was a lot more that we could be doing. And so that was an easy sort of like excuse to get people to like do stuff beyond the mini golf, to get out, explore. Yeah. And then the voice chat was the other thing that you mentioned. Yeah. And that was, I told this story a couple of times, so I'll keep it really short, but that was actually something that the game wasn't originally going to have multiplayer, because at the time it was aimed for Quest 1. Quest 2 wasn't even, like, I didn't even know anything about it. And like 2 or 3 months before launch, the Oculus folks said you should really, really add multiplayer to it. And I had never done multiplayer, so it's like, that sounds hard. But luckily, golf just happened to be something that was relatively easy to add multiplayer to. And there were a couple of out-of-the-box, solutions that generally sort of took care of a lot of it. So it did require going into the code base and tweak. I mean, literally, like I think I'd added the whole thing in about like 3 weeks or so. Wow. Nice. So, and we have but we've improved a couple of things. So luckily it was a fairly quick thing to add. But yeah, once I got in for the very first time, and I literally played with my dad, because I just gotten the second Quest to try it out with. It's like, oh yeah, this is like a whole new experience that the game was not originally intended to be, but obviously we embraced that from day one. But I'm really glad that they pushed me to add that very early on.
So what was Walkabout? Because I know it started as not a VR game, yes? So can you talk a little bit about pre-VR Walkabout? Like, how did it come about? And a little bit up there goes the cheat.
There it goes.
A little bit about that.
So currently the Pocket Edition on iOS is pretty close to what that was. It started off, there was another game, actually, the poster's not right behind me. There's another game called Laser Mazer that I had done also as this sort of like a little side project. It actually won a couple of awards at like Indiecade and different things. But that was one where you actually physically, like, it's still on iOS. You can get it. It's free now. But you physically kind of like walk around your environment, and you're like dodging lasers, solving mazes and puzzles. So it's like a physical game.
I got you.
But you only play it on the phone looking around. And so it was using ARKit under the hood to basically slam track your movements, basically. And that one, it was really, the people who played it really, really liked it, but it didn't ever sort of like, it was never like it flopped. It just flopped really hard. It kind of tanked a little bit. And that was more just that I think that some people felt a little weird about just moving like that. And also just like, I didn't really have my head around the mobile space. And it had just, even by that point in 2018, I think it was, by that point, mobile was just, everything was free to play, and it was microtransactions and ad based and all that sort of stuff. And I just had zero desire to really tune it to that point that it would actually kind of work like that. But so in playing with that, we're sort of like, well, people are also just a little self-conscious about movement. What if we use the same idea, and what else could we use it for? And golf was one of those things that the current edition, if you hold it horizontally, you actually putt by physically moving it. We did end up taking out the full, like, 6-off AR kit where you could actually walk around your space. But that was mainly just because we found that turning on AR kit and running it like you needed to, it was just draining your battery. And we found that we could get a good enough results from just the gyroscope. So that's ultimately what's in the current version. We could go back in and flip that on, but yeah, it was a huge battery drain heat issue. Just like AR kit is not meant to be running that hot for that long. So but yeah, so if you want to check out what that pretty much was intended to be, that was it. And then it was only that through Indicate, I had actually met up with a couple of the Oculus folks. And then when Quest 1 came out, it's sort of like, let me just try this. It's already, the hardest part at that point was getting it to run on a mobile, chipset basically. And so since we already had it running on that, I was like, well, let me just try that. And I think it only took like a week to get like a fully functional version of VR ported over for mobile. It was literally just adding the package and doing a couple little things to hook it up the right way. Also, I should say that, it started off as a solo project. We spent several years, and fortunately we're kind of past this, but like replacing all that spaghetti code. When I say that it only took a week to hook it all up, it's because I literally just like this thing could just plug straight into there, and it's just spaghetti, virtual spaghetti everywhere. It was, it was a very sort of like duct tape and bubble gum sort of solution. So, and
you've seen the progression now that you've done that over the last 5 years. You see, especially the last few courses, they've all of a sudden like gone into a bit of a grander design, more elements and everything. And you've added dozens and dozens of courses. We're currently at 35. You've already announced the 37th, which is Alice in Wonderland. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how excited are you to bring Alice in Wonderland to Walkabout?
Oh yeah, so Alice's Adventures in Wonderland has been one of the most sort of requested. We do pay attention as people are sort of talking about what they want to see. There's a couple that get get mentioned that we're already even sort of like working on, because the way that we do our course design is that at any given time we've got about 8 different courses in active development. We start off, we do a design retreat, and usually like over the course of 1 week, the 4 people that are on our design team, we pretty much do about 5 courses, not like all the way from soup to nuts, but it starts off as an idea, and at the end of it we actually go into Gravity Sketch and you can actually walk the full course. It'll get tightened up, it'll get improved and everything, but a lot of the time we go over, it only takes about a day for us to sort of like figure out what is the mechanic of it, what is the sort of like design of it, and we've found that if it takes longer than that, it usually ends up being a course that ends up being really challenging and kind of problematic, because maybe we haven't figured out like what is the really simple version of this. Atlantis was, I think, the very first one that we were working on more at the very first retreat as a team. And it was literally like the last day, you're like, we've got a couple of hours. Let's just we've been talking about Atlantis, literally 2 hours, and we had the whole thing mapped out. And you could just go in, and it looks exactly like the final thing did, because that was one that like, okay, mini golf, Atlantis, you get it. You don't have to sort of like, you don't have to overthink it a little bit. So I feel like I've gone on like 3 different tangents off of that. But so there's a whole lot of courses that we have in all the different phases of development. And chances are that we're working on several that people have, that have been popular requests, but we've also got a couple that people are not expecting at all. And we like to really balance that out. And we think of it kind of a little like a movie slate as well, where, we want to have some that are really about the environment, some that are more about the mechanics. Like the Evil Lair series has kind of become a good spot that we put a lot of the more mechanics heavy courses. We want some that are, just a wide variety of play styles and themes and atmospheres and moods and everything that we try to think about that. And that's why working on kind of 8 at any given time is also a good balance for that, because we have, even just recently, there was one course that was feeling like, this is a good course, but it just feels a little too similar to this other course. So maybe we'll still do it, but we have to nudge it away from that a little bit. But we also have to push it like a year out so that it's not going to come out too close to that other one. And then we know that it'll give a different vibe. So,
there truly is a walkabout for everybody at this point.
We're getting pretty close. Yeah. I mean, 35 in, and we've got, I could say that we've already started working on courses that'll be coming out like the very beginning of 2027. So that's about how far out we tend to work too. So
we recently we were doing a predictions. I feel like Dan and I on what was it on
with the roadmap? It was with the roadmap that you put out for the latter half of 2025.
And I think I had said at one point, like, all right, I'll take a guess, but really I know that those at Mighty Eat Coconut probably know what I want better than I know what I want when it comes to a course.
One of the things that I think Don actually just said this about one of the recent courses. It's sort of like he had said that this is one of those that no one thought that they wanted a course about X until you get in there and you're sort of like, of course, yes, I absolutely want this. And you wouldn't have thought about it until it existed. So there's a couple of those, and we like to have a really wide mix and some things that will catch people off guard or be a little unexpected, because that's half the fun as well. So
yeah, I agree. I think Upside Down definitely speaks to that for me, because I went in and I was like, I would have never thought I wanted to put Upside Down on the sideways and such. And then it just became like really fun. And it was a cool one to throw in the mix because it is so different with the rest of the courses. And especially when you're just like trying to randomize your course and you get that one out of like a bunch of other ones. You've done a really good job of keeping a good variety. And like you said, no second course is always the same as the course that was before. Like you do spread them out, which is really nice. And like Samson said, it's pretty much a course for everybody now.
And it turns out some people don't want to put Upside Down, but hey, we figured that out.
It's a course for everybody.
I would say though that I do think that there is an element of risk with every course, and sometimes that risk is just sort of like, I mean, Tokyo just came out, sort of like there was a question like, okay, we're going to, like, this course is going to be way denser than a lot of other courses. We need to sort of actually hire a cultural consultant to make sure that we were translating some signs appropriately and some different things like that were sort of different. But that one was more about the visuals. There's some other ones that are more mechanically driven that sort of like, is this mechanic going to work? And you've got to get in and you've got to test it out. And if it's a mechanics course, you really... you need to take the time up front to really make that as fun as possible. And then you've got other ones that Meow Wolf would be another one that just really sort of like no one was expecting that. And we're even kind of breaking the rules of mini golf and redefining what mini golf is at that point.
Correct.
But that was also half the reason for that one, is that we wanted to just sort of like, no one's going to see this coming. Let's just like swing for the fence and just, see how far we can push it, basically. That's half the fun. So we always, if there's ever a course that comes along that we just feel like there's no risk with this one, it's a little too safe. There needs to be at least a little something that we're trying to do that's new or different, or a little unexplored territory. Keep pushing it.
For sure. Yeah, and I always like to say that if you don't like the course that just came out, there's another one 6 weeks away that won't be like that one.
And we've even talked about that with the sort of like, that was kind of the idea behind pricing. Pricing at $3.99. We know that we probably could charge a little bit more, but there is something to that sort of like, people come in, they expect it, but then if we were charging more, there would be a lot. There would be a lot more pressure that know that every single, like, people have to love absolutely every single one of them, and you don't have room to try things. You don't have room to sort of experiment. That's also one of the reasons where we're just like, the pace that we're putting some of these courses out. it's a little relentless. It's kind of like like running a TV show that never goes into an off season because we're just always in production. But at the same time, if we cut back on just the number of courses too much, then you do start getting to that point where like, no, every single course has to just be an absolute, like, you know, it's got to be a number one on. Otherwise, you lose a little bit of that ability to experiment because it's just, it almost becomes like the AAA sort of like thing where like, no, every single course has to be just amazing. So, and every course is amazing. I should clarify that, but in its own way.
You have reached a really good price point of like, it's a good recurring price point where you don't feel like you're, sucking your fans dry at all. Or at least I don't feel sucked dry. But you're also like, you do, at least you feel like as a player, I'll try that one. This, and you've really, I don't know. I feel like I'm glazing a little bit, but you've really perfected, like, it's a well-oiled machine now. The whole process, it sounds like,
Yeah. It's definitely gotten a lot smoother, and just sort of like that's what doing the same thing. You just getting your reps in. You just got to keep doing it, and a lot of we're always solving problems even internally and just trying to get better and more efficient. But it also seems that every time we do that, it's not like we get to sort of like rest at that point. It's like, no, now we get to use that to try to push something else further. So it's just a game of kind of. It's an arms race against ourselves in a way.
Do you have like you might not be able to share this, but is it like when you go into a year of courses because you want to make sure that the balance is right? Do you have like, I want to make sure there's like 2 mechanical courses, 2 environment ones, or is it just here's the courses that we're probably going to do this year? Let's see how we're going to spread them out or how we're going to structure them for the year.
I would say that we actually that's kind of what we figure out in the design retreat where we talk through that.
Right.
But we do talk like if we ever do anything, I don't want to give too much of the formula away and sort of like spoil the magic. But I mean, I think people have kind of noticed and commented that like whenever we have a heavy mechanics course, like one of the layer courses, we usually try to follow that up with a palette cleanser, something that is going to be a little bit more straightforward, just because that seems to be the biggest sort of, there's some people who just either love or don't like the more mechanics driven courses. So, so there is some of that, but we figure that out like even before we kind of put pen to paper. Like we've got a long list of ideas that we're noodling on, and we might start like playing around with a couple of ideas, but generally we figure out kind of the release order about at the same time we figure out, we actually design the course. And some of that is also so that it's not only the slate and like when that is, but it's also sort of, it gives us the opportunity to make sure that we're not stepping on another course's toes. Using a similar mechanic or using sort of like a similar color palette. Like we kind of, that's why we hatch them sort of like in batches so that you do kind of have like, oh no, that this is the course that's going to really be sort of like in that mode or that mood or that color space or whatever it is. We can kind of like think about it a little bit more holistically that way.
Got it. I do want to interject with another community letter here. This is from Dave, based for obviously you and the folks of Mighty Coconut. He says, Walkabout has become such a part of my life. Everyone who comes over to my house is required to play the first 3 holes of Tourist Trap easy. I have a whole thing I do where I show them the Guardian, then I have them look around, explain the grip to putt, and have them play. I tell them they only need to play 3 holes and then they can quit, but everyone at least finishes the course. My not yet wife finished the course, then moved in to play Arizona Modern, and then a couple of others before giving back the headset. Then I knew she was the one. Thank you. Thank you, Lucas, for this game. That is more than just a game. It brings people together no matter where in the world they are. It allows them to hang out without it feeling forced. The physics are flawless. The worlds are immersive. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. That's a use case I haven't heard as much of, sort of like a vetting potential romantic interest. I don't. That's one that we don't get quite as often as the playing with dads angle.
Lucas, I've actually utilized Walkabout once on a first date when it was before we ever even met. I think it was, we met on like a dating app, and then somehow it came up. She had a Quest, and I was like, "Oh, have you heard of Walkabout?" And then she bought Walkabout, and we had our first date in Walkabout. And then my current girlfriend, our our second date, we went to a VR arcade where we played Walkabout.
Okay.
There we go.
The first one, the one who didn't work out, what was her favorite course?
We only played Tourist Trap, but I did show her like how to change her avatar and all that.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to see if there's maybe some sort of like,
she didn't get it. Well, my current girlfriend, she's not too into VR, but I do play with her daughter, and she does like Walkabout, but she's a little young, so I try to limit. We'll play like once a week or so.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the community impact a little bit. Walkabout Mini Golf, 100% player funded, something that I know you and the team are very proud of. There's pretty much no marketing, to be honest. We talked to David in Christmas, David and Ed, and he mentioned that it's pretty much just word of mouth. And we didn't realize that because we do see Walkabout everywhere, but that's because we're in this circle and we're the ones. We're one of the many that push it as well. And it's amazing of how well it's done from just the community drive. It's absolutely awesome. And there's a small slice here at LTO, but there's also competitive leagues, there's VR meetups. Is there any like community highlights that you wanted to share with us, or anything that really still amazes you when you hear from the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like just the number of people that are playing it, the number of people that are sort of like setting, that have like a weekly recurring sort of like meetup time with friends of theirs. Like, I think that's one of the things that always sort of like not surprises me, but it's sort of like that's definitely one of like the most feel good sort of things. You can also sort of like see just sort of like whenever there's a course release, just sort of like the number of people that sort of like almost use those course releases as the excuse to get together with friends. So there's a couple of those things like that are always super interesting to see. And then, what you were mentioning before about the sort of like the player funded thing. Yeah, we're 100% bootstrapped because this was just a solo project. It was just sort of me and my time at the very beginning of it. And then everything that we've built up is just sort of like what we're getting by selling the base game and DLCs basically. So the idea behind that has always been from the beginning is that if you make cool enough stuff, people will talk about it and help spread the word. And again, it's just like put your money on the screen, and it helps that we're an established game and that we're known and that we've been doing it for so long, because there's definitely something to, having been around for 5 years and been doing DLCs for almost I guess we started, it was a little over a year after the first one came out, but there were a couple of free courses because we slowly built up from 4 courses to 8 courses that were in the base game before we started doing DLCs. But so still 4 years of DLCs doing that, just like that, that repetition and sort of like consistently delivering stuff is kind of the best, better than we can get by buying ads somewhere. And it's a way better use of money because then people actually get to enjoy it. So
yeah, absolutely. And all the different features that you've added over the past couple years more than anything have been so community like focused, and in terms of like the slingshots, and you've got the driving range, you have now we have like the leaf blower, and now we have like a whole hidden room underneath the shack, and
even
it's all for those diehards, right?
The room size, right? It was only at 4, I think, at the start.
Yep. And now we increased that to 8 now, and even a couple of the game modes that we added were specifically around sort of like like being able to play in a simultaneous mode, or the new one that just launched, which is the closest putt, where everybody just takes one, whoever's close to the hole. Sometimes you just need, like, if you've got a room of 8 people, if you don't want to spend 2 hours on one course, you just need a way to keep the game moving a little bit quicker. So there's a couple of things that, you add a new feature, then you kind of got to add something else in order to sort of solve any problems that introduces. So.
Simultaneous mode changed our weekly games for sure.
Oh my gosh. It was so... we always have like 6 to 8 people in our... We play Walkabout on Thursdays often, and 6 to 8 people, and I used to sometimes get to the point where like, I'll only play 9 holes because this is going to take 2 hours at least to play through this whole round. But now that simultaneous mode, what we do is we all do simultaneous for 1 hole, and then we all wait until everyone finishes that hole and then move on to the next one. And it's been perfect. It's been so good to have. And my gosh, Lucas, race mode absolutely boils you when you see that 5, 4, 3, like your nerves start to jiggle, and you're like, oh my gosh. Everyone's the most quiet when they do race mode. Everyone's so social, and then when it comes to race mode, you can hear a pin drop.
I'm actually kind of curious myself. So in the simultaneous, because there had even been some thought of like, hey, maybe we should make internally, some people had said maybe simultaneous should actually be the default. I personally was kind of against that idea just because I think that there is something about forcing people to take their time that kind of helps with some of the conversation, and there's like some natural benefits that you get out of that. When you guys are playing simultaneous, do you feel like there's less conversation than when you're playing it?
Yeah. Or it just feels less like personal because you're not necessarily like watching everybody's shots. Whereas even like the closest to the putt, I was like, oh, everybody's watching me. Like you feel like you're more on the spot, and it just feels, it's not necessarily more or less social, but it's definitely a different type.
Yeah. That you taking your turn while everybody watches. I mean, even in real mini golf, you couldn't have two people playing at the exact same time. And actually, I went real mini golfing with my 5-year-old a couple of days ago. First time I'd gone like real mini golfing in probably a year. And and of course, like we would putt, then he would run on and he would just keep doing his thing. And it's sort of like, he's 5. It's not like we were going to be really sort of like, it's not like it was, it's not like we were like really caring too much. It was just more just sort of like, oh, but now he's off like way down there. Kind of got to keep an eye on him.
Then you imagine if it was 8 of you playing that one hole, right? Yeah, then it's a whole different thing. So I think the default, how it is perfect because that's how most people want to play. But I think once you get past 4 people, it does become like a very long time. And therefore the simultaneous is perfect for that. So no, I think keep it how it is probably a better way, because I don't know, I mean, you maybe be able to share the stats or not, but I don't know how many people will play above 4 people. Maybe I'm assuming it'll be much less.
It's not very common. It's definitely, I mean, single player is still like technically the most, but then 2 player, so it'd be like right around 50%. I think like 48 or something like that is kind of, it fluctuates. Single player, and then it would be like 40% are 2 player. And so then the last 12 is basically just, it drops off pretty quick. Cause it's also like, that's just VR, like it's relatively easy to ask someone like, hey, you want to hop in? That doesn't take as much, but trying to coordinate a group of 3, 4 or more people.
That's so true.
If you're not already in a group chat, if you're not already all friends, it can be a little bit more difficult. Someone's always going to have to like, oh wait, it didn't charge correctly, or I got to do an update or something like that. So
always VR friction. Dan, I'm so glad you thought to ask about stats because you know how much I love numbers.
Well, we have a question about that a little bit later on. Actually, let's interject one. This is from Discord community member Shoes. His name is Shoes. He says, "Hello, Lucas. I wanted to thank you for you and your team for creating such a fun and evergreen mini golf experience. In my real life, my friend and I often go on mini golf trips. And when I tried Walkabout on the Quest for the first time, I knew he'd love it so much as I did. I convinced him to get a headset a while back, and now we play Walkabout together several times a week. Since then, we've included his son and nephew in our games and made it a great bonding activity for all of us. When my friend and I first started out, we were very competitive and did a lot of friendly trash talking between us. But now, after a couple of years of playing, it's almost cooperative experience, and we encourage each other to beat our personal bests. Sometimes improving our score on just one hole equates to a successful round, not just the overall core score. Thanks for keeping the game fresh and fun, and we're excited to see what your team dreams up next. Keep up the great work." Amazing. It's just a lot of like just community building, right? It's just not even just community in terms of people that you don't know, but also just bonding with your family and friends in something that's so approachable. It's kind of like a little bit like the Wii Sports effect in a way where, when that was a thing, you kind of got the whole family bonding because it was so easy and so intuitive to pick up. And Walkabout has done that, which VR is like, it kind of struggles to do that because you're putting a headset, you can't see the controllers. There's a lot of friction in that. Where Walkabout's kind of got past that.
Yeah, and again, I feel like some of that was a fluke, and a lot of the community building. It is very unlike other games that sort of like in that they usually tend to be a little bit more actively community building. Most of that with us is just more just like people have told their friends and they've gotten together because they've just sort of. It's a good excuse, and I feel like that's maybe one of the things that VR struggles with. Is sort of like, do you want to get in and play a game, or do you want to get in and play a very specific game? There is something about the fact that it's mini golf and everyone knows what it is that it's really easy to convince people to just like, oh, just buy the game or gift it to them. Or it's even just asking if like, hey, do you want to play a round of mini golf in VR? People know, okay, that's going to take, 40 minutes or whatever, it's like, and they know what they're going to be doing, and they know they're going to be having a conversation, and it's not going to be a super like intense. It's not like jumping in and playing a first person shooter together or anything like that. So,
and they don't even need the course because you have guest pass. So, you can try a bunch of the courses, which is amazing. I want to talk about Mighty Coconut's culture just real quick here. Like every time you deliver a new course, new feature, it seems at least on our end that it delivers. Like you do such a great job. There's such a high bar now that every time we review a course, we have to nitpick to try and like pick out things because the bar is so high. And as we talked about, some people prefer some courses over others, but there's a certain level of polish that you can always come to expect. So my question is like, what is the secret sauce inside your team culture that helps you keep that high level of creativity and consistency every year or every single release?
I mean, there's a lot of different things that kind of contribute to that, of just sort of like the fact that we're 36 people right now, so we've grown a lot.
One person per course.
Yeah, basically. But it's still small enough that that we can sort of like find what people are really, really good at. Once you get to like a true sort of like AAA, people kind of become a little bit more interchangeable by necessity. Whereas we do tend to sort of like, oh no, we'll save that particular thing. We know that Emma is going to do a great job with that, or we know that Don's going to do a really good job with that, or even on the tech team, we've got a decent number of things. Like certain people have certain sort of like just areas that they excel at, so we're able to take advantage of that. But I think especially with the courses, one of the other things that we do that's very different from what any other video game studio would do is that we're using Blender to do all of our course and Gravity Sketch and a couple of different tools, but Blender is kind of the hub for all of that. We actually model up the entire course in Blender. Typically what a video game company would do is that they would do like, oh, we have an asset artist build like a lamppost, and then someone else populates it all around the scene file or something like that. Build up a library of walls. I think that the downside is that it means that we can't have as many people working on the same course at the same time. But the flip side of that is that it also kind of goes through these phases where almost everyone who's working on the courses has a period where they sort of own the course in its entirety. And so they're going through and, like Tad is one of the, he was actually one of the folks who founded Mighty Coconut like way back in the day. He does a lot of our architecture work. So he'll go in and he's working on one of the upcoming courses, and he completely owns the architecture side of that. And he kind of gets to pick and choose where he's going to focus his time and even rearrange a couple of things. And if he's making a big change, he'll ask first. But at the end of the day, though, the fact that he's just sort of like had the entire course and he could just run with it for 6 weeks and kind of put his stamp on it, I think that's where you see a lot. So there's some of that that's kind of almost sort of like baked into the process, and there's actually certain people that really kind of own each part of the process, and you're not seeing a lot of it's not sort of over processifying. I think that's really kind of like me reading between the tea leaves, but I think that's one of the things to me that sort of like kind of gives it such a different feel than most other games have.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of remote workers? Are they all remote?
We're pretty much entirely remote. I'm actually here. Yeah. We've got a small office in Austin, but there's only like 2 or 3 people that really come in that often. It's just everyone's gotten comfy at home, and so much of the team is remote that even if you came into the office, you might see a couple other people, but there's a good chance that they're not the folks that you would normally be hanging out with in meetings. So it's not like you actually get to replace like true in-person or true like remote meetings with in-person, because we're spread out all over the country. A decent number in Austin. We've got a smaller but still decent number of folks that are in Boise. Just there happened to be a little hub that sort of formed there with people who knew really, really good people. But then, like I said, all over the U.S.
And we got Ed all the way in Australia as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the one person who's outside.
All the way on the other side. Another one from the comments said, this is Healing Entree. He actually hosts our weekly Walkabout tournament, continues that, which is great. He says, hey, Mighty Coconut, the thing that keeps me coming back to Walkabout is the constant effort by developers crafting new, detailed, and engaging worlds that I'm just happy just putting around in. The community surrounding the game is full of awesome people willing to share shots, help each other improve, and it's never hard to find someone willing to play around. Really pleased to be part of this community, and running the LTO weekly tournament is a highlight. He does also have a question because obviously he runs this tournament. And obviously if you can share or not, he says, is there any plans to further support like the tournament community, possibly including race statistics or like adding any asynchronous match options potentially?
We're looking at several different things to sort of like just generally sort of like kind of in that vein. I don't want to say too much about even what that is because honestly, I just don't know exactly because some of it is still sort of like we're trying a couple of things out. I would say though that one of the big things that we want to make sure that we support is like you guys have a group of people that have sort of formed around this. So we want to be cautious that we don't sort of like replace it with sort of like, oh, that now all the tournaments are happening sort of like within sort of like everybody. I think the fact that all these different like little hubs of people have sort of come together and formed up around that, we want to make sure that we support that and don't sort of undercut that by sort of like trying to fold more of that in game. Because again, yes, it's a game and yes, there's some folks who want to be competitive, but I would still argue that even with that, there's a certain amount of belonging to the community. And again, in that case, that's your guys' community. That's you building that up. So anything that we add around that would basically try to be more in support of that than trying to supplant something like that.
Perfect. That makes sense because everybody's doing it differently and in their own way. So if you tried to just replace one, somebody would be like, hey, that's not how we do it.
Yeah. And honestly, like even like when we were talking about sort of like tournaments in general, like even just like the sort of like, oh yeah, what rule set are you going to use, or how are we going to figure out who's paired up, or like even just like the getting people together at the right time, like if they're trying to play an in-person thing, all of those things just get really, really complicated. And I think that's also been one of the general design rules that I've been a real stickler on, of sort of like whenever possible, if we can make things as sort of like self-serve as possible, that we're not forcing people to do things a certain way. And there's even one of the features that we've got coming up that I won't spoil, but like it's like, oh, do we want to build sort of like a game and like an actual rule set and everything around this? And it's like, no, just like let people do what they want to do with it. The beach ball is actually a great example of that. Like all it is like it's literally just a thing that you can hit, but the fact that some people are doing different things with it, and like some of them are playing volleyball with it, some people are using it as like hide and seek, some people are trying to hit it into the skull on the driving range. Like there's a whole bunch of those kind of emergent gameplay things that have popped up with that by just providing the tool and letting people run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the thing that you just kind of you build the playground, you put in the tools and everything, and then everyone can just, use that and kind of become really creative and design their own kind of ways around it, for sure.
Yeah.
We have a question from Dave. He says, my question is on, I don't know if you'll remember this, Lucas, but on Talk About episode 14 with the creators of Moss, he says, one of the creators just tapped the ball by accident, and you made a comment that you were working on a Mulligan system for times like that. That was a while ago. Is that still in the works? Has it been scrapped, or any idea if that's going to be available?
I know that was something that we have a very, very long backlog.
List. Yeah.
And I know we started looking at a couple of those things, and I'll look back into that to see, because I know it's still on the backlog. It's also quite possible that some of that it would have been like, oh yeah, we were going to work on that, but we kind of needed another foundational thing to like, how do you let people undo a stroke and send it over the network and all that sort of stuff. So that might have been one of those things that we had to undo a bunch of my spaghetti code in order to make something like that possible without adding more spaghetti. So yeah, but yeah, I'll look into that, because I think that has been one of the more requested, simpler features. So yeah, for sure. All right, I know you're pressed on time, so just to wrap up here, we have 10 quick-fire questions that we could probably get done in like a minute here. So I'm going to rattle them off here. Number 1, favorite overall course?
Just first one that comes to your mind.
Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Beautiful. Classic.
Second question, favorite course series?
The Passport series is really growing on me. Tokyo just really sort of like took it up a notch.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm a little scared because the Passport courses, like the art team has been like, are just like buckling under the amount of stuff that they have to do for those.
A lot of research.
But yeah, all the research, and then and just like if you just go through and just like the sheer number of unique items that are in there, it is every single one of them. Or there's only 2 so far, but that is definitely walking around Tokyo was definitely a big wow, this is really cool. So yeah, so I'm hoping that
the lighting in that course is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal. Number 3, favorite putter that you use?
I always go with the 20,000 leagues, which is the sushi. Yep. I go double sushi. I go 20,000 leagues, and then I do the sushi wrap ball as my default.
Nice. What was your favorite course launch, like lead up to a course?
Ooh.
That you enjoyed, or like the build up to a course, something like an Elvis that you announced early and you build up to it?
I mean, I would say probably Meow Wolf, just because we knew what we were doing. I would also say that was also probably one of the most stressful ones because we were doing so much stuff and there was so much new stuff, but that one just had the most sheer number of couldn't wait to see people's reactions. I think one of my favorites was the sheep hole, where you actually, instead of putting it in the hole, you heard the holes like sheep. And there were just that whole course was just full of those sort of those moments that I just couldn't wait to see people's reactions. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, definitely though.
Number 5, teleport or flying?
I fly and smooth loco now. So that's my default.
Nice. 6, who's more dangerous, evil puffins or the 8-bit lair boss?
Probably the puffins.
Yeah,
definitely the puffins. Yeah,
I've got 3 of them behind me, and they still scare me every time.
Although the dolls, I would say probably in terms of danger, probably dolls, then puffins, and then
Dave is not a fan of those dolls.
Dave can't play that course because of the doll, but yeah, fair enough. Number 7, one-handed putting versus two-handed putting. What do you prefer?
I spend very little time actually standing up and playing the game properly because half the time I'm testing, and so I'm sitting at my desk and then I just spin my swivel chair around and just I literally just I will say though, my putting, I went real golfing for the first time in probably 8 or 9 years or something. My putting, even on a real green with actual slope and everything, was easily, I bet I shaved 5 strokes off my game.
Wow. Yeah.
I sank a couple 20-foot putts, and it would just sort of I never would have done that and anything.
Amazing.
So there was actually a little bit of real skill transfer that happened.
There we go.
There, so.
Number 8, describe Walkabout's community in just one word, if you can.
One word. Well, I
you could do a few words.
Get a phrase.
Word. Yeah.
You could do a phrase. You could do a phrase.
Yeah, fun. The one word things are always hard.
Do a few.
Yeah,
what was
just
the first thing?
Just pleasant.
Pleasant.
Just sort of no one's here to grief each other. No one people are coming to play mini golf. It's generally just a pretty chill. Maybe chill is the word. That
I feel like I feel like the Mighty Coconut's energy reflects on the community. I think it goes both ways, and I can definitely feel that every time I speaking to you today, as well as Ed, David, and Jeff Bull as well before he came at Coconut. You all have very similar energy, and it's really rubbing off. Number 9, any dream IP that you'd love to collaborate with no limits. Let's say there's no license limits or anything. You could just pick any IP out the sky. What would you love to do?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, the big thing for us is the environments. So any IP that has a whole lot of really interesting environments. I mean, Star Wars probably is the one that makes the most sense, but also just because the worlds that are in there are as much a part of it as the characters and anything else. There's a whole lot of IPs that I would theoretically love, but at the same time, it's sort of but is there enough? TV series often have that issue of sort of usually those are very character driven, and it's less about sort of the world, the environment design and everything. So that's also one of the reasons that most of the IPs that we have partnered up with have been in the animation space, just because those tend to have a bigger world or something fantastical about them.
Elvis was the biggest shock, but then it made sense because of the Vegas. Like you just made kind of a Vegas course, which was really cool.
But even that one, that kind of like, it was kind of weird because there's even Vegas itself, like so many of the things that you consider to be Vegas actually are kind of like owned by someone. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like, it would have been, we could have done it, but it would have been a little difficult. And the Elvis thing kind of allowed us to have that sort of like that name brand recognition that gave it a little bit of those details, that it was more than just a casino, which also would have been fine, but would have been a little
Final one, original courses, Tourist Trap, Cherry Blossom, Seagull Stacks, Arizona Modern. What's your favorite one out of the 4?
I mean, I think Cherry Blossom. Especially with the remaster.
Update. Yeah,
especially with the remaster. That we got a couple of internal complaints just because it was supposed to remaster. It was supposed to be a quick little thing, and we just kept adding more stuff, more trees, more. I totally agree. But I think especially with the remaster, Cherry Blossom is just gorgeous. But Seagull Stacks also has a very special place in my heart. So I know that one gets a little bit of hate from some folks.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's Samson's favorite. Amazing.
I love
the putter's amazing as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lucas, thank you so much for coming on and celebrating the 5 years of Walkabout with us. I know this podcast is going to mean a lot to our community more than anyone, to be honest. It's been such an honor to have you on the show. We've had Edward, David, Jeff Bull before he came on as a coconut, and now we have you, which is absolutely great. So the Mighty Coconut team has been nothing but kind to us, and that kindness is so apparent through Walkabout, as I've mentioned. So thank you, and thanks to the whole team for the hard work that you do. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.